Hi, everyone. Welcome to the session. Welcome of those joining online and here in person at the Resilience Hub Pavilion. My name is Sofia Corradi. I'm an environmental scientist and I'm part of the Water Youth Network. I will be your moderator for today's session alongside my colleague Ryan Phillip. He's part of the International Youth Climate Delegate Program and works as a water engineer. The session's title is Water and Nature Resilience in the Climate Era, Innovative, Holistic, and Effective Governance. Water Youth Network is happy to have as co-host organizations ARUP, the Climate Resilient Infrastructure Development Facility, the Global Water Partnership, UN Water, and the Indian Institutes for Human Settlements. During the session, we'll be having the artist Jess Howard collecting our discussions and insights, and I'll ask her to give us a brief introduction of her work. Jess. She's online.
Hi, everyone. Hopefully you can hear me. I'm coming to you from Darramurrugal land in Sydney, Australia. Really, really excited to be joining you and hear the amazing speakers that you have. I'm going to be sitting here very quietly doing capturing all that I can from the session and in artwork and in text. Unfortunately, we couldn't get the technology to work, so you won't be able to watch it come to life, but I will share it at the end, and you'll have a chance to have a look at hopefully a very bright, colourful overview of the session. Just a little bit about me. I'm a cartoonist and lawyer and climate campaigner, and protecting water and nature is very close to my heart, especially considering Australia is a very dry continent and we have some beautiful, nature and wildlife like koalas and kookaburras and kangaroos, all at risk from climate change, but also at risk from coal and gas developments. So I'm very passionate about this, and I'm really looking forward to capturing the amazing and inspirational speakers that you have today. So I'll be sharing my work towards the end. It won't be the final product, but I do encourage you to check back in with the Resilience Hub in a couple of days to find the final product, because I'll continue working on it after this session. And I'll pass back to you, Sophia.
Thank you, and we are excited to see these results later. And now I invite here to the podium Yoko Lu, representing Yango and the Global Youth Coalition, to deliver a keynote speech. The floor is yours, Yoko.
So, hello everyone. So my name is Yoko Lu. So I'm here with several organizations with Yango and also Global Youth Coalition and also the Global Youth Biodiversity Network. So I'm here to really introduce the topic of like why we are having like this session and what the common challenges of like the young people in the water sector. So in developing countries with that limited access to the water, it's really difficult for young people in the world to really connect to the solution, innovation challenges, and it's really difficult also for them to come to the COP28 like this, like because there's no funding, or really difficult to find organizations to find them because it's really limited, as finance is always a problem. And water scarcity, also that includes also the surface water and groundwater, and maybe ocean, depending on where we live, the local communities. We are all struggling with all like this negotiation topics and all those policies within like this UNFCCC or about climate change. So like because I'm from like more like, so I have experience in Global South, both in Global South and Global North. For example, I am born in Japan, but I grew up in China when I was very, very young. I also grew up in Canada when I was much older. And so, like, China was really different 20 years ago. Over 20 years. Actually, I'm a bit not that young, but over 25 years ago. It's not that, like, it's very different from today. So, like, over 25 years ago, like China was really had a lot of pollutions, waste pollutions, not much waste management, and like the street was all like filled with garbage. The air pollution was not that great. So that's why like my family like moved to Japan for education, but also like for environmental struggles, almost like climate refugee sort of thing, like climate migration. And so at the time, because the water was not that pure compared to today, because we all have to drink like bottled water. I mean, Japan is also the same. I mean, I think maybe it's our culture, but then we can also like, because if we have this like concept of like drinking tap water is not that good, but I mean, and they've also found that developing countries that we also like really struggling with that. So I'm just saying like from my like personal experienced this when I was much younger. So because of that, today like I'm engaged in like different organizations, not just with youth, but more like also like gender and civil society organizations, to really work to get together with developing countries and developed countries to really work together. So with water, it's like also like connecting to all aspects of SDGs and not just climate change, but also with other UN agencies. So I think it's really also really important to not just to talk about water here, but really connect to climate change, especially the UN Water Conference also happened this year in March in New York, and it's really like this year is really a historical period that really connects water and climate change as well. And also, I also want to say that the water is not just water, but there's also the health issues. Like we cannot just talk about water, but we also like to connect like health and like adaptation, like also like loss of damage. Like I mean even though they're like about UNFCCC topics, but we also really need to push forward on this topic since water is not really a topic here. But yeah, so I'm really here just to really introduce the topic and to really also to thank everyone here to be with us and listen to us about this topic. And I'll pass to the next speaker. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Yoko, for introducing the topic and sort of framing the discussion for today. We're going to have 3 more presentations, 2 virtual and 1 in person. So without much further ado, I would like to pass the floor over to Asha from GWP Tanzania to give a presentation.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a great honor and pleasure to talk virtually at COP28 at the Resilience Hub, and I'll go present around water security and provide our experience as part of Global Water Partnership, Global Water Leadership Program here in Tanzania. So as part of the bigger network of Global Water Partnership, our vision is for a water secure world, and we all share mission of advancing governance and management of water resources for sustainable and equitable development. And we understand that water is a key enabler of other sectors, and that its management and development cannot be dealt with in isolation. So we understand that other sectors have direct or indirect influence in either quantity or quality. And we've seen here in Tanzania that multiple sectors have continued to undertake numerous overlapping and sometimes conflicting functions in our river basins and in our catchments. And in that regard, we, Global Water Partnership, think that coordination in sectoral planning is very vital as part of maximizing development opportunities and also making sure that we are ending up with a water secure world in the era of climate change. So the Global Water Leadership Program supported in Tanzania what we call a multi-stakeholder change process with an aim of developing a response strategy to bottlenecks of the climate resilient water resources management in Tanzania. So the support really has been towards, first of all, establishing together with the government, the National Multi-Sectoral Forum, and going further into supporting formation of working groups, and later supporting those working groups meet regularly and foster consistent dialogues and collaboration amongst stakeholders. So through that process, the National Multi-Sectoral Forum and the working groups identified together the bottlenecks to climate smart water resources management. And these bottlenecks were many, but through the Global Water Leadership Program, the National Multi-Sectoral Forum managed to prioritize the top 3 bottlenecks that through the support of the program could go further into conducting a very thorough root cause analysis, and later develop the actions to reverse it, and later come up with a response strategy. So mainly the 3 bottlenecks in Tanzania were around inadequate funds to implement resilient water resources investment, inefficiency in irrigation water use, and also overlapping legal and regulatory mandates that were impacting the intersectoral coordination. So the innovative part of all this was bringing together the different players, and not just once as it is usually was. It was maybe just annually meeting. It was consistently working together, identifying the issue and thoroughly looking at what might be the possible root causes. So if it has been Ministry of Water complaining that maybe it's the land unity that is continuing to give permits to people to almost the river banks, or where the Ministry of Water has identified as buffer zone. So in this regard, the land unit people, the environment council people, the academias, the private sector. For example, we had people from the pipe industries, consulting firms, engineering solution companies, all together understanding what are the issues, and together sharing their experience and expertise on what they believe are the root causes to all these issues, and then together coming up with a response strategy. And the other strong part of the Global Water Leadership Program that I can also share in this platform has been the support to have a finance consultant who supported these multi-sectoral teams to properly cost their actions, and also think of where are the finances going to come from. So with that, the National Multi-Sectoral Forum has ended up with a very comprehensive response strategy that we believe it has given them a model on how to go about to deal with any other bottlenecks that they will identify in the future, And we believe that with this comprehensive response strategy, they are also in a situation where they are able to implement it, not just have an action plan, but it also have the where the funds will come from, and which we believe will put them in a way that even come time that the global water leadership support is not there, they are able to continue and to implement it. So I think that was briefly what I wanted to share in this platform as how we are working towards having a water secure world, water secure Tanzania this side. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Asha. Thank you, Asha, for providing us some insights as to the work that GWP Tanzania is doing, highlighting the multi-sectoral approach that you guys are taking. You would have mentioned critical bottlenecks, lack of funding, irrigation issues, also legislative issues. I think that those are all issues that both developed and developing countries are faced with within their water sector. I also forgot to mention that we'll be taking questions after all the presentations. So if you have questions, please save them. We'll have a Q&A after with the panelists and the audience. So I'm going to move to the second speaker. We have Billy Dumaliang from the Masungi GeoReserve Foundation in the Philippines. So Billy, please, the floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. Is it good? I'm Billy from Masungi, from the Philippines. I'm happy to be here as the winner of the 2021 Water Changemakers Youth Award. So thank you to GWP for bringing us to these platforms. My project is found at the Masungi GeoReserve. It's 47 kilometers east of Metro Manila. We are protecting a limestone karst ecosystem. If you're not familiar with that ecosystem, it's made up of rocks and sinkholes and caves, which is basically an essential part of the water system and the water cycle in the Philippines. And I'm here in the context of our work in restoring our surrounding watershed. Our group is now in charge of reforesting 3,000 hectares of degraded watershed areas, so near Metro Manila. And since then, we've encountered a lot of challenges that I can talk more about later. But why is this particular watershed so important? It's because it's the nearest watershed to Metro Manila, which is home to 20 million people, including the nearby regions. And it has been proven through studies from the World Bank and from the observatory in Manila that the health of our forests affect the risk that is happening to downstream communities and to downstream cities that we have. And so we have started a lot of the reforestation work. We have secured 2,000 hectares for conservation, built 15 kilometers of monitoring trails, and 17 ranger stations to protect this area. And it's not even about planting trees. It's about securing and mitigating the threats to the landscape, which includes quarrying, includes logging, includes different types of land use changes. And what we've done as youth is to create this movement that speaks about the stories of the watershed through social media and through journalistic stories about what is really happening in this watershed. Not a lot of Filipinos are actually aware or actually have a sense of consciousness about what is a watershed. And aside from being able to form a watershed coalition of over 80 civil society groups, we have been able to have an intervention on the educational level. We created a board game which shows youth how water flows from our area, from the mountains, to the urban cities, and down to Manila Bay, where the water flows out. So even the basics of how water flows is something that needs to be improved on, and we've tried our best to do a creative way to be able to integrate that into the curriculum of the surrounding communities. And in our campaigns, we've also engaged celebrities, we've engaged the youth. of course, the indigenous people who have partnered with us in the campaign, and even mayors of cities and downstream communities who are even more concerned about the watershed than the upstream cities and municipalities. And we even have one mayor who I saw a while ago who was here, who's our partner from Siargao in the Philippines. So that's my introduction for what we do at Masungi, and we'll be happy to answer any questions later on.
Awesome. Thanks so much for that introduction. I really like that a young person is championing the work in this field. You also spoke to the interconnectedness of water and nature resilience. Karstic systems, as you mentioned, are very complex. And I love that you would have broken it down and included education at the youth level to ensure that young people know exactly how their water system works and how important it is to include nature in those discussions. So thanks so much for that, and I'm sure we'll have other questions for you during the Q&A segment. So we have one more presenter online, and he is the Executive Secretary of the Zambezi Watercourse Commission. So please, Felix, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Felix Ngamlagosi, Executive Secretary of the Zambezi Watercourse Commission. We are based in Harare, and I'll be discussing today, contributing our experience from the Zambezi Watercourse on issues to do with the governance structures and the stakeholders engagement frameworks, and focusing on community-based solutions. Zambezi Watercourse Commission is an intergovernmental organization bringing together 8 riparian states through an agreement which was signed in 2004. The countries are Angola, Botswana, Malawi, Mozambique, Namibia, Tanzania, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. Just to give you a perspective, SADC has 12 countries, 50% of which are part of the Zambezi. And we are one of the largest rivers in Africa. We are number 4 after Nile, Congo, and Niger, spanning a distance of a length of 2,700 kilometers, but square-wise, we are covering, Zambezi covers 1.37 million square kilometers. And it's a complex basin with 13 sub-basins and population between 40 million and 50 million. It will be 50 by 2025. So in order to implement the ZAMCOM agreement by the riparian states, ZAMCOM has developed a strategic plan, which is a long-term document, providing key focus for the coming years up to 2040. The first part, which is very important and I want to share with you of this strategic plan, is we had to define the regional issues, the key challenges in the region, which are affecting all countries. Number one challenge is poverty. There is high levels of poverty in the region, with the 64.8% of the population depending on subsistence farming, which is rain-fed, and 44% of the population, that is well above 20 million people, are below poverty level. The second issue, which is regional, which was identified, was deficit in terms of infrastructure. There is a substantial deficit of energy infrastructure, water supply infrastructure, water irrigation infrastructure, monitoring infrastructure, early warning systems infrastructure. Generally speaking, there is a deficit, a huge deficit of these different infrastructure. The third issue, which is regional for the Zambezi, is environmental degradation. And this is high, with 65% close to that already affected in terms of degradation, environmental degradation, 51 of which is moderately degraded and 14% is highly degraded. So this is a major challenge for the region. Number 4 issue is we have issues of disaster in the region. We experience both floods and we also experience droughts, which are increasing vulnerability and weaker resilience of the communities and the economies in the region. The number 5 issue is the competing use, where now the water utilization, the water resource allocation is now struggling between the need for developments on one side, but on the other side is about equity among the different sectors, environment, communities, but also different countries. We are 8 countries, but also the issues of benefit sharing. Who benefits more even within the country, among the different sectors, but also among the country or country by country. So there are a number of trade-offs which really compete in how to utilize the same resource of the Zambezi. Now, this is the first part of the strategic plan. The second part was to now respond to the challenges, where 4 pillars were defined to address the 5 key challenges. The first pillar, which is driving Zamcom or Zambezi in up to 2040, is investments in infrastructure, focusing on hydropower generation of all sizes, agricultural water, water supplies, health, and other type of infrastructure which are necessary to support development and sustenance in the basin. Pillar number 2 is livelihood support, where more focus is on the socioeconomics of the population, the socioeconomics of the communities, the socioeconomics of the countries, addressing environmental, in order to be able to address environmental and the climatic challenges for these communities and economies to be adopted and to quickly respond to shocks. Pillar number 4 is focused on environmental resources protection and utilization. And now this is focusing on addressing issues to do with the degradation, land degradation, poor land use methods, deforestation, erosion control, loss of soil fertility, and overgrazing, which is all contributors to the environmental degradation. And pillar 4 is water resources management, just to ensure that there is sound water resources management and development in the country. So basically, the whole of the Zambezi region is guided by the strategic plan, which is running up to 2040 with the 4 pillars. And these pillars are addressing the 5 challenges, which are all regional in nature. Now, at this stage, I want to share with you the governance structure at Zamcom. For Zamcom and the Zambezi in general, the multi-sectoral stakeholder engagement and dialogue processes are at the core of transboundary water resources management. And why is it important? It's to ensure ownership of the activities, ownership of the interventions, ownership of the projects, and ownership of the outcomes that come out of those initiatives. Our fundamental structure for consultation is at national level, where for each country we have established very well functioning national multi-sector stakeholders coordination committees. Zamcom coordinates for the countries to have these consultations at any time when there is an intervention to be designed or an operating rule to be discussed and agreed as a region, or there is a new project which is coming up, which is regional in nature. So the National Multi-Sectoral Coordination Committee is the starting point in terms of getting the needs of the various stakeholders and various sectors in the countries. Then that is elevated to a level which is now regional. From all the inputs that we get from the multi-sectoral consultations and data is much more consolidated and agreed at a regional level through the watercourse-wide multi-sector stakeholders committees. Now, we also have a higher level, which is, we call them working groups. And these are specialized groups depending on the issues. For example, we have the Zambezi Gender Working Group, where we have the Zambezi Hydrology and Hydrogeology Working Group. These are specialized technical people that will sit down and discuss specific issues in their areas. Where we have a project, we also have a project implementation units, which also provide inputs and data to consolidate into plans and activities which are now consolidated by the Secretariat. And the Secretariat now informs a technical committee, which is composed of senior government officials, directors, commissioners, and deputy permanent secretaries from the various countries, and also comprising of different sectors. These will review plans, will review documents, policy documents, will review programs, and advise the highest body for ZAMCOM, which is Council of Ministers, for decision making. This is a very fundamental structure which we have tried to summarize to just illustrate how we are connected from grassroots community level to decision levels of the Council of Ministers. Now, at this stage, with the strategic plan and using this consultative governance structure and consultative stakeholder engagement framework, we have developed already instruments of cooperation among the riparian states. Just to mention quickly, we have developed procedures for notification of plan measures, where countries notify each other through these procedures, notify each other through ZAMCOM of any planned measures, downstream or upstream, just to make sure that there is no significant harm for any development that is done in the Zambezi. We have developed rules and procedures for data and information sharing. We have also developed gender mainstreaming strategy and implementation plan. We have also, all these are regional instruments. We have also developed capacity building strategy and implementation plan, capacity building at regional level, also at national level and community level in the countries. We have also developed information, communication and visibility strategy, which we are implementing. We have also developed a multi-sectoral stakeholder consultative and dialogue processes documented and approved by the Council of Ministers. But we also have developed the strategic plan, as I said, for the watercourse, which is Strategic Plan 2040. Now, these instruments were developed based or using the same stakeholder consultation framework and governance structure. At this stage, Chair, now that we have a strategic plan, which runs up to 2040, we are now engaged into developing shorter-term implementation or investment programs, which are basically trying to roll out to implement the strategic plan into shorter-term periods. The strategic plan, as I said, it goes up to 2040. Now, these development investment programs, we are developing them for a period of 5 years. We have, as ZAMCOM, in collaboration with our strategic partners, AFDB, UNCCD, CREDI for the UK, have developed a program for integrated development and adaptation to climate change in the Zambezi. We abbreviate it as PDAC Zambezi. This is an integrated program. It's a multi-sector program, and it has gone through all the screens in terms of stakeholder consultation and engagement and approvals and governance approvals. The objective of this program is to build strong communities that are resilient to climatic and economic shocks in the watercourse through promoting inclusive, transformative investments, job creation, and ecosystem-based solutions. Each country has developed its own national program, PDAC Zambezi program, focusing or comprising of projects which are national in nature. But also we have a second version, a second part of the program, which is regional PDAC Zambezi. This now is a program that is which contains projects and interventions that cross beyond one country, which are regional in nature. And this is at advanced stage. As we are speaking now, we are in the first year of implementation of this program. We are still mobilizing other financiers apart from AFDB to support implementation of this program. We are also developing another initiative with the Climate Investment Fund. We are developing a regional investment program or plan focusing on nature, people, and climate. But it's more focused to empower indigenous people and the local communities to lead climate actions. Chair, for now, let me end there. Thank you so much, and welcome to the Zambezi.
Thanks so much, Felix. That was really a comprehensive overview of the work that you're doing at the Zambezi Watercourse Commission. I really like how inclusive the work that you're doing is and how forward-looking it is as well. And I'm sure that persons in the audience will have a few questions. So we're actually moving into the Q&A segment now. If anyone in the audience would have questions, feel free to put your hand up and we can get a mic to you. But if you don't, we will actually have some questions to start with from Sophia.
Yeah, thank you for all the presentations. And I would like to start with a question for Asha. You were telling about the multi-sector nature of the working groups within the Global Water Leadership Program. And can you elaborate more on how that has contributed to a more comprehensive understanding and approach to water security?
Yes, thank you, Sophia. Yeah, as I already put out that water resources management requires multi-discipline, multi-sectoral kind of management. So the multi-sectoral or the diversity that was in the composition of the working groups or task force teams or the multi-stakeholder forum has in a very big way contributed to development of a comprehensive plan, because almost the different sectors that contribute either directly or indirectly, or they are affected either directly or indirectly with absence or presence or abuse of water, where part of the whole process of, first of all, identification of issues, and then thorough process of understanding what are the root causes of all of these issues. So we got good inputs, for example, from the private sector guys, because they look at things from a very outside the box kind of mindset when you compare them with the government officials. So unlike other strategies and plans which have been a work of, say, just a single consultant developing the actions for them, this one is different. The private sector guys were there and they were amazed at how things are on the ground, and they could just innovatively share the views. And we also had people from the universities, also from their vast experience and studies. They were providing inputs into how best, for example, to conduct the root causes analysis, or what are the new ways, the innovative ways that are trending or are being used worldwide dealing with the same problem. So it wasn't a one-month show. It was every player bringing on the table their experience, their expertise, and dialoguing around their proposed actions, and later agreeing what is the best for the interest of the country and every part that is involved. So that's in a nutshell how I can answer your question. And if you feel you need more clarification, please feel free. Thank you.
Thank you, Asha. That sounds like really effective. And just a reminder for the audience, if you have any questions, you can raise your hand here in person. And online, you can also submit your questions on the platform. And now I have a question to Billy. You start telling about the challenges you face. And if we focus on the governance side of that, how these challenges, what are the strategies used to overcome these challenges when we talk about including involvement of young people, indigenous communities, and all the actors on the project?
Yeah, I think our role as youth and indigenous peoples are very important in our context and even in a lot of contexts in the global south. The watershed that we're working on is 26,000 hectares. And our project within that watershed is 2,000 hectares. And currently, the forest cover of this 26,000 hectare watershed is at 11%. So, only 11% of the trees are left. How could that have happened if there were already laws and policies that were in place to protect this place since 1904, since we were under the American government? And so you'll see all of this comes back to enforcement of these laws, to the consistency of leadership, the political will to implement these laws. That is the biggest challenge that we have. Because when we started reforesting this area, suddenly there was one company who fenced us out and put barbed wires inside. And they said, oh, we actually have permits to quarry this watershed. And it was 1,300 hectares. And then the next week, we have a former general claiming 500 hectares of the land. So there's a lot of questionable instruments and questionable claims that, you know, really needs to be addressed square on by a government. And the reason why we are there, the youth and the indigenous people, is really to become watchdogs for water and nature governance that we sorely need in the Philippines. And the media has helped us. For example, when we just posted photos of forest fires during the pandemic, the government reacted from the media stories and assembled rapid forest response teams across the country, just because young people took photos and put it on the internet. So you can see some change happening through the youth movements in the Philippines. And at the same time, I think our call would be on transparency, because we don't even have the watershed management plan. We don't even know what projects are being proposed inside our watersheds. And it's so hard to get these information. So I think that is one solution that I would like to push forward, is transparency mechanisms for watershed plans in the Philippines.
Yeah, thank you, Billy. We have some lessons learned from the Philippines project. And now I'd like to address a question to Felix. Continue on this governance focus. What lessons can be learned from community-based solutions in transboundary bases, as your case, that can be implemented in international frameworks for water and nature governance?
Yeah, what I can say is there are a number of lessons that we can learn from community-based solutions, and in a number of cases, you know, practical life situations, the community-based solutions have demonstrated the importance of inclusive and participatory approaches, but also the importance of integration of local knowledge, but also collaborative governance. But in some cases also issues that which are capacity building in nature. Now incorporating these lessons into international frameworks can ensure more sustainable, more equitable, and more inclusive water and natural resources governance, especially in the case of transboundary bases. Community-based solutions recognize the value of local knowledge and local practices, especially in managing water and natural resources. They also have emphasized the importance of involving all relevant stakeholders. And when we talk of stakeholders, we should be sometimes specific to specifically talk about local communities. We normally forget, we remember, government agencies, we remember NGOs, civil society organizations, but local communities are normally forgotten, and the indigenous groups that are in that area. They have their own perspective of which needs to be taken into account when we are making any decisions on issues to do with the natural resources. Transboundary basins require cooperation, require coordination among the multiple stakeholders across national boundaries and within the countries. So community-based solutions, in my view, have demonstrated the significance of dialogue, the significance of cooperation, and also of shared vision, making the shared decision making among the countries that share a transboundary water resource. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Felix. I think we have a question from the audience. Go right ahead, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Alfredo Coro. I'm a mayor from the Philippines. I live in a small island, and I also represent a group of small communities around the world called Coastal 500. So we work with ensuring sustainable fisheries. My question is in relation to all the discussions that you have here, which are mostly contextualized on a national scale. And for the first time in 28 years, finally, COP realized that all actions are local, right? So when you talk about community-based solutions and all of these things, it's still in the context of a large-scale land. If we talk of small islands, the issues of water are very different because you have a limited source. God willing, you have actually a source in your small island. Then you have rain, and then that's it, right? So how do we move forward with all the solutions that you have provided in localizing the solutions to these particular communities? But basically, you have the poorest sector, which are fisher folks, which do not have knowledge, which do not have education, and I'm pretty sure do not have access to practically anything. So that's the challenge, I think, for everyone. So in terms of local governance, we face this every day. We have to figure out how to give them water, how to make sure that they have water to use to eat, to cook their food. And with all the plans that you have shared, how do you trickle it down to the last person in the last mile of the last island in your community?
Thanks so much for that intervention. And what you said really resonates with me because I am from a very tiny island. I'm from St. Kitts and Nevis. It's the smallest island in the Western Hemisphere. And working as a water engineer there, it's really difficult. Just in the past year, we've had a reduction of about 30% in rainfall. And the impact that has on the local community is very, very significant. So thanks for raising that. And I want to pose a question to Asha, because I don't know Tanzania to be a particularly water scarce country. And I really wanted to know what was the motive for pushing for water and nature resilience in Tanzania and the work that GWP does, because in my local context, in the context of the Philippines, there is a motive. We don't have water. It's a limited resource. When we have it, we have to make the most of it. But in Tanzania, that's not the case, but you're still doing a lot of work to ensure that your resources are sustainably managed. So if you could shed some light on that for me, Asha, I would really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. You're very right. We are sitting on the biggest lakes. We have, God has blessed us with a lot of water resources, both surface and groundwater. However, the country is not, the water resources are not evenly distributed. So while we have the very northern part, which is well endured with water resources, we have the central part, which is really, really dry. And we have also the southern part, which has it has some water resources, but now most of the population is again in that part. Talk of the small but very populated city of Dar es Salaam. It has fewer water resources, but a lot of people, a lot of industrial activities, a lot of businesses. So you'll find that during some months for the past 3 years, the city has been facing water challenges. And though we have these big lakes, but the country or the sector has not been able to put in place structures or infrastructures that can transfer water from either other basins or the other lakes to save this big capital of Tanzania, or this big business capital of Tanzania, which is Dar es Salaam. So in that regard, the government thought very wise to start early to practice integrated water resources management, and it has been working hand in hand with different stakeholders to make sure that we don't wait until we are in a critical condition to start working on sustainable water resources management, but we also have worked together with different stakeholders to identify what are the issues that are hindering us to see all of the Tanzania in a water secure kind of situation. So that is the, if I can say, the motive behind different interventions and initiatives to implementing and pushing for integrated water resources management, and also the multi-sectoral approach of managing the resource. So briefly, that is what I can share right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Pamela. And we have a last question from the audience, please.
Thank you very much. Martin Schuler from Arup. Thank you very much to the panel. Really interesting session today. So yesterday I was had the pleasure of being at the Water Pavilion. I met lots of young innovators in the water sector, and I was inspired actually by the great ideas that they were coming forward with, new ideas into the sector. So my question really is to the whole panel, and I think it's for all of us to think about, how do we engage, embrace and empower the youth to feel that they can bring those new ideas into this space? So how can we collectively bring that new thinking into the space to help us unlock these tricky problems that we have?
Thank you. Feel comfortable answering anyone?
Well, I think especially for new innovative solutions or grassroots groups, it's really about helping us and opening the door for us to be able to scale the product that we already have. So just like in the startup world, having angel investors, people who trust in you and who invest in you and your idea first, and then help them meet people, get the network, get the funding, so that we could actually scale our efforts. And it's not a cookie cutter approach that I prefer, but I prefer private sector companies, large groups, being able to find common ground with all of the other NGOs and see what are the common values, what are the common goals that we could work on together, versus having, a menu of CSR activities to do. So it's really a one-on-one relationship that I prefer as a CSO practitioner in water and nature.
Thank you. Asha or Felix, do you have any comments?
Yes, I can. On my side, there's a regional institution at Zamcom. As part of the stakeholder engagement and involvement at different stages, especially in coming up with the interventions, solutions for different challenges, we have a window of it's our policy to encourage to be inclusive. We talk of gender, but also the youth is given prominence at formulation stage of different projects when we are conceiving concepts for projects and programs. As I mentioned before, we are now preparing an investment plan for CIF under CIF financing, which we are going to have the first regional workshop in February, for example, next year. And one of the areas that we have earmarked as key participants to that, because these are now formulation, conceptualization stage, we have earmarked the youth to be invited dedicatedly in those forums for their contributions. We also have an annual Zambezi Forum, which is done every year, and we encourage exhibitions. We sponsor exhibitions, especially from the youth and in new innovations in the region for addressing a number of challenges that are facing the region, which are, touching the lives of but which are water and nature-based solutions. We also sponsor exhibitions by the youth, just to give them room to come up with, so that we can understand or hear what the new innovations which the youth is coming up with to contribute to these complex challenges that we are trying to solve as a region. Thank you.
Thank you. Unfortunately, we are running out of time, and I now want to call Jess to share what she's been developing during the session.
Hi, everybody. Wow, what inspiring speakers. I will just try and share my screen so that I can show you. Oh, no, for some reason, I'm not able to share my screen. Is anyone able to let me know why that would be?
I'm not sure. You should try it.
Can you see anything there?
Yeah, we can see it now.
Okay, great. Hopefully you can see the artwork, which is not finished yet. It'll be beautiful and colorful when I have. Just to go quickly through, thank you so much to all the amazing speakers. Yoko, you really spoke to what I heard was your work in connecting youth around the world to water scarcity and water. Hello,
Jess,
can you hear me?
Yeah, it's not. We can see your screen, but the image is not showing. We can see your photos, we can see the resilient hubs, but it's not loaded fully.
Okay, that's strange. Let me try and open it again. Does that work?
No. I think you're sharing a specific screen, so you have to check which screen you're sharing.
Oh, okay. What about that? Does that work? No. This is so strange. This is the problem we had in the original tech chat that we had.
Okay. Would you try to stop
Really
sharing
sorry,
and
guys.
share again? Just to
I'll
see
stop
if that
sharing.
works. And then you
I'll do
share
it.
again and share on this specific slide.
Does that
There we
work?
go. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, awesome. So go right ahead now.
Oh, you can see it. Fabulous. Okay. Yeah, so what I got from you, Yoko, was your amazing work in connecting up youth from around the world to take action, and particularly on water scarcity, and very much drawn from your experience living in the global north and south. So thank you so much for sharing that. And Asha, your incredible work identifying the bottlenecks in governance, and then instituting a multi-sectoral approach to the water issues in Tanzania, And I loved your last point that you need to take action before any water scarcity issues really come to the fore. So that's really great. I loved your quote as well. Our vision is for a water secure world. I think that's why we're all here. And Billy, your amazing work with youth movements in the Philippines. I just wanted to draw all of the beautiful birds in your geo reserve, but I tried to capture what you were talking about, needing political will, youth-led movements, and the connection between water and nature, and how you're not just planting trees, but you're actually trying to protect a whole landscape and the watershed as well, which was so inspiring. And finally, Felix, there was so much detail that I wanted to capture, but the main things that I focused on was your focus on the multi-sectoral stakeholder consultation. And as you can see, I've started to colour some of these. I really wanted to draw the river system, but what you were speaking to was the transboundary resource management that's your challenge, and that really needs a grassroots response, and so community-led solutions drawing on community knowledge and the knowledge of Indigenous people as well. So that was super inspiring to hear what you're doing at the Zambezi Watercourse Commission. So I just wanted to say huge congratulations to everyone, and I will continue working on this and hopefully make it really, really beautiful. And please speak to the speakers. Please let me know if there's anything you'd like included or changed or tweaked. But thank you so much. It's been a real honor to be part of this session.
Thanks so much, Jess. Unfortunately, we're a bit short on time, so I'm going to close now. I think she really set the scene for the closing. She went over everything that we discussed, and I think the key takeaway is that water issues are cross-cutting, and we need to have inclusive solutions. Yeah, that's about it. Thanks so much for coming, everyone, and yeah, thank you.